that we should talk about his greatness. Okay, and I said, oh God, all right, talk about your greatness. Which particular aspect or which verse do I focus on? And he gave me this Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 to 29. And if you can open there for me, please, and I don't know, many of you may be familiar with it. It is about Jesus walking on the water and Peter looking unto God, wanting to, calling unto him, to identify himself, and then also taking the plunge to walk on the water. And I started thinking, okay, God, how do I marry the two? The greatness of God with that verse. How do I marry the greatness of God with Peter walking on the water? And that's what I want to focus on today. The greatness of God, but in light of Peter walking on the water. By the time I'm finished, you'll see the connection. The Bible says, those who know their God shall be bold and do great exploit. Yes, if you know your God, you shall be bold and do great exploit. Before I proceed, can somebody read that verse, the reference that I gave, Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 to 29 for me, please?
Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 to 29. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up in a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus said unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, so just have that in the background of your mind. And I'm going to present you with an illustration. I wanted to draw it out, but we don't have much time. But if you imagine Peter, Jesus, the storm is raging. Well, not the storm. The wind is blowing. In another version, it says that the boat was buffeted by the wind, and it was blown away. So, really, if you imagine them, they would be afraid. You understand? Because the wind is taking the boat away from shore. It's taking them off course, basically. And then you have this sight they see on the water. They perceive that it's a ghost, and this person is walking towards the boat. In the midst of the storm, they are already afraid, and they've got a ghost, something that seems like a ghost, approaching them, and they're even more afraid. Do you understand? But these persons, that thing that seemed to be a ghost, is walking on the water towards them. Yes. So can you picture that in your mind? Now Peter wanted some reassurance. So he asked, "Is that you? Is that you, Jesus?" And as soon as he was reassured, he stepped out of the boat. He stepped out of the boat, and his eyes was focused on God, on Jesus. Jesus was in the form of God, the Son of God. And his eyes was focused on that Jesus. And if you can picture that in your mind, his eyes was focused on Jesus. And as long as his eyes was focused on Jesus, he could walk on the water. He could walk on the water. He could walk on the water. But as soon as he remembered the wind, it wasn't the wave, the Bible talks about the wind. As soon as his mind went on the wind, he changed his focus. He changed his focus, and he looked down. So basically, one of the things that we need to remember that our focus is determining our destination. Okay, and that, I want you to remember. So I'm drawing the picture of where we're gonna come to, but we're gonna go back to God being a great God, the greatness of God. Who is God? When we talk about God being great, what are we actually saying? Before I can go to the other part, we need to digest this aspect a bit. When you tell me that God is great, what are you actually saying to me? We are familiar with the word great, aren't we? You know, I like interaction, yeah? We are familiar with the word great. From the time you grow up as a child, you'll be familiar with that word. This is great, that is great, God is great. And if you're in the church, you are familiar with the term, God is great. But when I say God is great, what am I actually saying to you? The word greatness means awesome. It means beyond something else. It means vast. It means there's so many. You can help me with the meaning of the word great. But when you talk about great, it's like if it's in reference to somebody, they are in a realm or a league that is beyond your own. That is what it is to be great. I give you some example. It means gigantic. It means huge. That is what great is. So when we talk about God being a great God, these are the things that we're trying to express. We are trying to express the enormity of Him, how huge He is, how much He talks about His word being surpassing. His greatness is surpassing. It is beyond all other greatness. There is the verse that talks about God. He's at the end of the day, every knee will bow and they will confess that He's God. And He's the only true. He's the only living God. And the one can talk about it. We can say that because God is beyond every other God. There's a song that talks about all other gods. They are the works of men, but you are the Most High God. There is none like you. There we see an element of God being beyond every other God, every other thing. That is the God that we serve. And so Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20 to 21. It says, God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. In this verse, there are so many references to the beyond of God, the greatness of God. He said He's exceedingly. That is one of the definitions of great. Exceeding, to exceed. He's exceedingly. He's abundantly, above all. You need to focus on that. Above all. So He's above your imagination. He's above your wisdom. These are all verses. He's above your knowledge. He's above your understanding. The Word of God says He's above human understanding. He's just beyond everything, and He's beyond all other God. So that is we just focusing on who God is, the greatness of God. Because when you know, I said the verse before, when you know your God, we shall be bold and do great exploits. The reason why we cannot do that, the reason why Peter sank is because he forgot the God that he was looking at. If you remember the greatness of God, then you always focus on Him. Your eyes do not deviate. No matter what the waves and the winds bring around you, you do not deviate. So that's what I'm trying to do. Get us, when we talk about God being great, what are we saying? He is beyond our imagination. He's beyond our likeness. He's beyond everything that we could possibly imagine. He's beyond our circumstances. He's beyond trouble. He's beyond everything that we've seen happening around us. The greatness of God surpasses that. And we are moving from one year into another year, and we need to to change our focus. The Bible talks about renewing the mind. And when you know God as a great God, it is one method of renewing our mind. So the knowledge of the greatness of God works by renewing our mind. It transforms our mind. Because naturally we would think of, oh my goodness, woe is me, I'm undone. Why did this happen to me? Why am I going through this? When you see the situations outside, you worry about it. But when your mind is transformed to know that these things are irrelevant, they are but wind that are passing, then of course your mind is transformed, because now your focus is different. Your focus is on God. Your focus is on the great God, the great I am. You are the great I am. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8 to 9. It says, your ways are higher than ours. I'm paraphrasing. And His thoughts are beyond ours and greater than our thoughts. And these are all, I'm just bringing some verses to remind us of God's greatness. So we see His thoughts are beyond our thoughts. The way He works is beyond the way we work. That is all. It's as I said, it's beyond. He's beyond us. Everything that He does is beyond us. We are in different realms. Although our God can meet us, but He still is above us. Everything He does is beyond the human ability to comprehend. And we can never, the Bible says, who can attain to Him? we cannot really. Other examples, there are three major examples of the demonstration of God's goodness. It has passed, it has happened, there are two that has passed and one that is to come. And the first one is in creation. When you look at creation, this is one great act of the greatness of God. Scientists have tried to see if they can throw us. They try to bring evolution. They try to say that we were born from just I don't know if you know of the amoeba. They try to say they have all different theories, as to the existence of human being. They say that we are from the apes. They have tried. They said one thing, they failed. They try to say another thing, they failed. And all the things that they've said has failed. But when we come back to God, with creation, we see that God is the great God. He's created everything. And if you look at the order in which things move, you can see the greatness of God. Can you stop the wind from blowing? No, you can't. Can you stop the sun from shining? You can't. When the sun is meant to shine, it shines. When the moon is meant to come out, it comes out. The different states of the moon. So if it's half moon, if it's full moon, quarter moon, it will shine at its right time. Everything has the order. That is an example of God's greatness. And the Bible says if we look around us, we can see examples of God. We can see evidence of God around us. When we look at the human beings and the way we have been created, we can see the greatness of God. And even when you look at the bare human being on face value, you still miss the real greatness of God. But the scientists, I love the scientists. I'm part of that as well. So when you go deeper, when God allows them to find out things, to really remind us that He's a great God. And when they look at DNA, your DNA, because in genetics they will deal with DNA, it talks about who you really are. And DNA in itself confuses they try to sequence it, but they still can't. You know what I mean? God is beyond that. Now there's another element in our bodies that works, I need to go into it a bit more. But when you look at it, it functions in exactly the same way as everything in creation. Do you understand? I've forgotten the name, but I remember the name and I'll bring it to you the next time. But it's all these things give you evidence that God, there is a supreme being. His intelligence is beyond ours. And that is also another aspect of God's greatness. The second area is when He came. Jesus came God sent His Son Jesus to die for you and I. He created the earth then, and He's still in the process of creating. And when we will see that everything that He does is creating His evidence, and His greatness is still manifested in all these three areas. And as I said, the second one is in His death on the cross. When you look at Jesus dying on the cross, He came as a babe. He confused human being. He confused everything. He turned everything upside down. And that is another thing about the greatness of God. When He comes in, he can change the order of things. Jesus, He's natural. The way He's created human beings naturally is for a man and a woman to copulate and thereby producing, a seed after their own kind, a son. So Jesus, God decided to do the complete opposite. He came and He decided to impregnate a woman who's never been with a man and to bear a son. Okay? Isn't that the greatness of God? Can anybody else testify of that fact? No, only Him. So this we see a second example of God, the greatness of God. The third example, which we are meant to see, we are still awaiting, is the return of Christ. Now, first of all, He came as a creator. Second, He came as a savior. And the last, He will be coming as a judge, as one who's going to restore order. So these are the three major places in the Word and in existence where we see God as a great God. And He is a great God in three different capacities. Everything else that falls between them, just confirms and reaffirms that our God is a great God. If you agree with me, clap your hands, somebody. We serve a great God, we serve an almighty God. There are various examples in the Bible where people know, and I'm going to give you some examples, where people experience God as a great God. Job. Job suffered so much. And I don't know if many people can testify of the sufferings of Job, but we have had an element of it in our lives. And Job says the thunder of his power who can understand it? The thunder, I don't know how many of you has experienced thunder, real thunder, from the coast, from the Caribbean. Yes, you would have experienced it. And when you hear real thunder, you could be asleep and it wakes you up, it scares you. You know what I mean? When a real thunder strikes, it can shake your house. You understand? You can think that everything is going to break down. I think most of us would have experienced it. But Job described his voice, his power as a thunder. And if you can't understand it, that is a thunder that you can't really understand. There's another verse that talks about in his voice. The voice of God is like many waters. And so if you can imagine a lot of chaos, all the aeroplanes crashing, cars crashing on the motorway, fires lighting, everything, bombs exploding, you can have kind of an idea of the magnitude of the power of God. Psalm chapter 147 verse 5. His understanding is beyond measure. Psalm 8:3-4. What is man that you are mindful of him? Who are we that he is mindful of us? And the Son of God, and he should put us only a little lower than the angel. In reality, we would think that the angel should be, should surpass us by far. But it says he only put us a little lower than the angel. And who are we, to when we think of the greatness of God, who are we that he should even consider us? And even the way that he considers, despite how great he is, he considers you and I who are just dust. That in itself is an element of the greatness of God. Yes, Luke chapter 12 verse 7, it says, he knows every detail about you, even the strand of hair on your head. He knows every one of them. It talks about him feeding the birds of the air. And if you look at them, you wonder, how do they know where to migrate to in time when the seasons change? Birds come from all the way from Africa into the UK at different seasons. They know the times, they know the seasons, and they flow with it. These are all elements of the greatness of God. I'm going to move quickly because I don't have much time. And so examples of the greatness of God, I'm going to give you two. I know there are many common examples about David, and how God moved him from a place of the place of a shepherd into kingship. We know of how God found Saul wherever he was, out of the tribe of Benjamin, and made him into king. We know about Abraham. We know all these people. We know and all the common examples. Daniel in the lion's den. God walking through the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But I want to talk to you about to remind you of two examples. And the first one is in 1 Samuel 5, verse 4. And it was when the ark was put in the same place where Dagon was, the god of the Philistine god. And when the ark was the presence of God. When the ark was placed in the presence of Dagon fell. You understand? He fell. And his arms were broken. His neck was broken, so only his torso was left. That in itself, that God was in the ark, the presence was in the ark, but just the presence of God in the midst of other gods, he crumbled them. And that's an example of the surpassing greatness of God. Because you would be baffled. How is it, that he fell? Because it happened on more than one occasion. They didn't believe it was the ark. But then the final thing was it fell and it was shattered. So that is an example of God being great. And in 2 Kings 7 verse 8 it says about the men with the leprosy. They were the Israelites with some battle. And they didn't even have to raise a hand. God did some the Job said about God's power being like thunders, and his voice is the same. And basically, God scattered the enemy. He scattered the enemy. His people didn't have to raise a finger at them. He scattered them, they ran out of the camp. And then this leprosy, the rejected one, came into the camp, and they gathered what? They gathered food to eat. They gathered gold. They gathered all these treasures, all the plunders of the enemy. They gathered gold. That is another example of how great God is.